Good morning, sports world. Welcome back to the East Coast Sports Investors Breakfast Bankroll. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, and soon we will be connecting to our co-host, the man from the Palm Tree State himself, Mr. Scott E. Webb. First and foremost, I want to wish everyone out here a happy Father's Day. Hope you all have a great day enjoying the benefits of being a father and a dad, and also hope everyone, basically, in a nutshell, takes a second to take a step back and breathe and enjoy the day itself. So without further ado, let's grab our partner in crime himself, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, happy Father's Day. How are you, sir?
Jeff, I am doing outstanding on this day, and my son's birthday is tomorrow, so it just all kind of wraps into one whole weekend of fun here with the golf tournament and everything else going on. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, it's always was a day for myself, especially when my dad was here. You know, it was a get up early. Basically try to sneak 18 in if we could. If the British Open was playing, that would obviously set that back because we'd be at our house watching the final round of like the British Open. But you know, like today would have been a U.S. Open, a West Coast start, so that gave us a lot more time to get out there, get the 18 in, get the clam boil set up for quote unquote our one day of the year, which sarcastically we know is a little tongue in cheek there.
Yep, I think that this is sort of everything kind of rolls up, right? I mean, it's like Easter, and then it goes into Mother's Day, and then it's Father's Day, and then it's 4th of July, and then all of a sudden you're into football. So it's you can sort of gauge all this stuff all the way down the line. But what I think is interesting is to keep an eye on some of these pitchers who a lot of times get off to a good start, and then this will be the middle of the season, and they either continue their start, or in a lot of cases they back off. You know, you get a lot of people that had started really well, and then all of a sudden they have that I don't want to call it injury season, but it's they get sore shoulders, sore arms, sore elbows, and then all this stuff about the sticky substances and all that, and then Glass now getting on there and talking about how that cost him, and now he's going to have Tommy John surgery, and all. I mean, these guys are crazy, man. That stuff is all blown out of proportion, which is, I guess, another indication of today's society. But we're talking about baseball and sports, so I don't really want to get into that stuff.
Well, it's funny because that technically was going to be my initial lead into you. We could just take a few seconds on that. As you see down below, the favorites went 8-8 yesterday. There was a doubleheader with the Mets and the Nats. But the overs again, 12-3-1 since. And I guess the big day is actually Monday when they start, throwing people out. Glass now's come out at certain other couple pitchers, literally on the podium, and don't know what to say. What is proper protocol? What is not? So my lead into you technically was not just spider tack, but also the next topic is rosin and sunscreen. I mean, I do understand the pitchers. In other words, before the season starts, this is what we're going to allow everyone to do. And now they're changing up midstream, which again, Glass now going overboard. But just in the last week, we're seeing the totals go up. I watched Garrett Richards for the Red Sox. I call him Mr. Frisbee because he's got that slider, that curveball that just floats. At the Braves, his last start, didn't throw one slider or one curveball. And when asked about it, he basically looked you straight in the eye, and it was like telling you, I didn't have my sticky stuff, and therefore I didn't throw it. Thoughts moving forward on all this propaganda, BS, whatever they're trying to throw us here?
Well, I think it's kind of interesting because this is not something that isn't a known issue. I mean, this is something that um, just about all pitchers have done throughout multiple decades. I mean, this is not something that's brand new. I mean, they don't. I heard a pretty good analysis from a hitter, and he was talking about when he was at camp, and the older veteran pitchers would talk to them about how to hold a ball or how to make an angle of your wrist turn or whatever for breaks and all this stuff. And he said, never once did I ever hear a starting pitcher ever say, "Hey, look, here's my tool shed, and inside of this case is all these little things that you can use to help you with getting sticky stuff on there." So, but at the same time, it's been a known thing for years and years and years that these guys do that stuff. And I guess at this point, Major League Baseball has decided that the pitchers have so much of an advantage that they are trying to cut down on that advantage. And anytime that you're using some sort of substance to make the ball do things that it wouldn't naturally do, I would suppose that would be a good sign if you're a batter. But what the batters have always said for years has been that they don't mind the pitchers having that stuff because they don't want to get hit. They want the ball to be consistent and know where it's going to go when the pitcher throws it. And they've always been very reluctant to even turn in anybody that they obviously know is doing something because they can see it. Even the Michael Pineda case when he was with the Yankees and all had a goob all over his neck and he had so much of it on there that it was just embarrassing. But I think that you're going to see lesser spin rates on balls because you almost have to see that. I think you're going to have less movement on balls. I think that means that your fastball pitchers are going to get more fastballs thrown. Any pitcher is going to throw more fastballs. I think changeups are going to get to a point where they want to throw more of those because obviously change of speeds and when you pitch, you want to change speeds and you want to change locations. And the better that you can pinpoint your control, what they call it command, as long as you can command your pitches and throw them where you want, you're going to be dangerous as a pitcher. But if you can't control where the ball's going to end up, then that gives the hitter the opportunity to hit a lot of more mistakes than they have in the past. So you might start seeing some of these overs. And as the weather starts to break and you get more and more 85, 90 degree weather, the ball carries better. So you might see quite a bit of scoring going on. And when I looked at the numbers today, I was like, man, let me find some unders here. And I can't really find them because the games I wanted to bet unders in, damn weather is 16 mile an hour blowing out to left field and all that stuff. So there's 5 or 6 games where the wind is really effective today. And, we don't have the best pitchers again going today on Sunday, but there's some interesting matchups, needless to say.
And it's funny, you talked about Pineda. That was a Sunday night game at Fenway Park. I mean, he had it all on the back of his neck. I remember the announcers saying that. It's like, hey, what is that? What is that? And then you talk about the sticky substance. I'm going to go back. I'm going to date myself, okay? Lester Hayes from the Oakland Raiders. He had both his hands covered in this yellow goop. And it was known that he led the NFL, I don't know, 11, 12 interceptions that year, whatever crazy number it was. But that was the start. Getting back to the pitchers, I see wet, rainy conditions. And then all of a sudden, as you stated, a pitcher, a lot of these people are saying this. Is the sticky substance is there for a reason. It allows them to rear back and have better control because where the game has changed, Scotty, it's your 98, 99, 100, 101, 102s, and these kids don't know where the hell the ball's going. So is it going to take another Kevin Pillar or something? And again, I'm not saying that was done intentionally or anyone for the most part, getting hit is intentional. But if you don't know where this ball is going, and this ball is tailing to the right, tailing inside to a lefty, and someone gets some serious, like Tony Conigliaro damage, there's going to be quite an uproar here.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, today's society is all about blowing things out of proportion and taking little things and making them big things. And, you know, it's cancel culture and it's all this other stuff. And this is not something that, you know, hasn't happened in the days when Pete Rose was playing and Mike Schmidt was playing, and, you know, all these guys, and you never hear anyone complain, and you've never really heard any hitters complain ever, and they still don't. I mean, they're not complaining today. It's the pitchers who are complaining today, and it's Major League Baseball who's trying to crack down on them. And I get it. I mean, this is a sport that has become, the league batting average is 236, 237, and the projected strikeout rate is 242. So 24% of the batters that go up there are going to strike out, which means this will be the very first year in Major League Baseball history that there are more strikeouts than there are hits in terms of rate. And that is an unacceptable performance in a game in which you're trying to score runs. I mean, that's the idea, is to score runs. So I think that Major League Baseball is trying to make it so that the game has more appeal, just like in football, you know, NFL, where they changed the game where, you know, the wide receivers have a lot more aptitude to not get defenders hanging all over them and holding them and all that stuff, so that they can get more open, so the ball can move. And I think that's what they're trying to do in baseball. I think the next thing you're going to see, and especially with the next agreement negotiations that are going to happen, I think there's going to be a lot of discussion around the shift. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion around the DH. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion around anything that has to do with driving in more runs and what they're claiming to be getting our athletes to be athletic. And, you know, I think there's two thoughts there. I'm sort of old school, and I like the idea that if there's an open hole on the right side, well, then hit it through that hole. The batters can be trained to do that. I mean, it's not like softball where you can, you know, really time a pitch and move it over there. But pitchers are at a point now where they outsmart and outthink the batter, and the batter just rolls over on a ground ball and pulls a ball where the you know, if so, for example, a pitcher throws an outside pitch to a right-handed batter, and it's slow. It's designed on purpose because the batter is going to try to pull the ball anyway. And when he pulls the ball, he's going to mishit it. He's going to top it because it's the speed of the ball, and it rolls into a ground ball. But the second base hole is wide open, and the ball's on the right-hand side of the plate. All you got to do is flip your wrist, and the ball's going to go right over there. And that moves runners if you make an out. And if you don't make an out, you're going to get a hit. These guys would rather go up there, and I get it, baseball. We talked about this before. There's multitudes of games where there are less hits for a team that wins a game. And the reason for that is because those less hits are doubles or home runs. And the reality becomes is that you don't need to out hit your opponent. How many times you see teams string hits together, 3, 4, 5 to score runs? If that happens, usually a lot of times the pitcher's gone by then. So it's an amazing game that has evolved into strikeouts, walks, and home runs. And I think there's a lot of emphasis on changing that. And I guess we'll just have to see how it progresses.
100% agree. Today's board, you know, as you know, and everyone else knows here listening, for Sunday, for ECSI's point of view, we call it Quicksand Sunday. We were fortunate enough last week to be on a nice 3-0, what we call as an action parlay, and we popped it for about 5 1/4 when the Dodgers ended up holding on, almost blowing a 5-0 lead. I looked for today's menu, and like you said, initially what I want to ask you, Scott, is there's only one game initially that stands out to me, and it's just because of the opening number. And I was curious yesterday about it, and now I'm looking at it, and Pinnacle just bumped it up another 9 cents. Okay. So when I see the Pittsburgh Pirates a favorite, the alarm bell goes off. Now, Friday, we left them on the desk. There was a lot of reverse line movement on them. And we just said, you know what? I've seen this mold. I've seen this picture 10,000 times this year. We're not biting for the banana in the tailpipe again. And they get up to an 11-0 lead, and they hold on and win 11-10, and Cleveland stranded the bases loaded. Yesterday, we were on Pittsburgh. Down 2-0 early, put up a touchdown, make it 6-2, hold on for 6-3. So they've taken the first two against the Indians. Overnight line, they opened up minus 123. Wake up this morning, they're 125. As we're talking today, it's almost like now Pinnacle hears us, minus 136 against Hentages and the Indians. Thoughts?
Well, I think we talked about this on one of our previous shows. Pittsburgh has one pitcher that's pretty good, and he's pitching today, and that's Brubaker. And Cleveland has one pitcher who's just absolutely horrible, and he's pitching today, and that's Hinches. So you have a really good pitcher for the Pirates, and you're facing a really bad pitcher for Cleveland. Doesn't matter whether this is a home game or not, really. I mean, neither one of these teams are really great on the road or really good at home. And in a lot of cases, I like to take a team that has a bad record with a really good pitcher. And I would tell you that Brubaker is not necessarily really good. He's just good. He's not like if he went to, the Atlanta Braves or somebody like that, he's not going to be their number one starter. But at the same time, as a number one starter for Pittsburgh, over his last 30 days, his Sierra numbers are 3.76, his XFIP numbers are 3.76, and those are really good numbers. And Hinches, for example, his Sierra numbers are 5.11. He has a walk rate of 16.7. So that means he's going to put guys on base. He's very hittable. And when you talked about Brubaker, he's just not going to do that. His biggest problem is keeping the ball in the yard. So if you're going to run into the Cleveland Indians, for example, I wouldn't think that they have the power because Franmil Reyes isn't playing. You still have the third baseman to worry about. But other than that, they're not going to hit home runs. So the question becomes is how many hits and how many runs are they going to score before they take Hinches out of the ball game? My suggestion on this game is to stay away from Pittsburgh's bullpen and to stay away from the ability of these other teams to catch up if they get ahead. And I would suspect they would get ahead, and I wouldn't mind playing them as, say, minus a half a run on the first 5 innings as opposed to playing them at minus 130.
It's funny, as the season progresses, as we're almost at the halfway point, the All-Star break, the dog days of summer, as we like to call them, I find myself initially caught in that catch-22 because you look at teams with bad back ends, so you do take a look at the first fives. If the first fives aren't appealing because the spread's too high, again, you look at the minus half run. And then I'll peel that layer back even one more further step. Well, I really don't like the first 5. I don't like the back end. So let me take a look at the team total. So you talk about, then you get, the home team's only guaranteed 24 outs unless you get the walk-off two-run homer, 3-run homer to cover any kind of run line. So I'm very skeptical on that. But let me tell you, I hear more people talk about, I love this home team. I love this home team. I love this home team. All the minus 1.5s. And here they are, whistling Dixie, 3-run walk-off, 4 in the 8th. And luck is a factor when you're playing any sport. And especially in my eyes, baseball. One bad hop, one infield hit, a pass ball, wild pitch. It's just amazing Amazing. If you follow this pitch by pitch, uh, how some of these games actually play out, it's like Hollywood couldn't even script them.
Yeah, over the course of a season, you almost see everything. I mean, there's so many different ways to win games and so many different ways to lose games. And this is Major League Baseball. I mean, this is the best baseball played in the entire world, and yet you're going to get a game where it's the last inning and you bring in a relief pitcher and there's a man on first base and there's nobody out. So you bring in this relief pitcher who's going to be one of the best relief pitchers in the world. He comes out there and walks 3 straight guys and gives up the run because he walked in all of them, and you lose the game. And you sit there and you go, how does that happen? I mean, how can you, and then you start yelling about a manager and this and that. Well, you can't have a manager do anything about it. He's got to throw to 3 hitters, and he walked all 3 of them, and there's a guy on first base in a tie game, and you lose, and there's nothing you can do. So the issue, I think, is that over the course of 162 games, and 30 teams play 162 games, all kinds of crazy stuff happens, and it's make your best selection and ride with it and go. And I'll fight till the end of time, that you don't bet home favorites on the run line for the entire game. You lose that extra at bat in the 9th inning, and that can be so meaningful for you. But that changes in a first 5 because you get that at bat in the 5th inning. So that's why I like to bet home teams in first 5 innings, which is what we just talked about with the Pirates. And I would never play them on a full run line game because it's just difficult to cover those numbers. And I know there's a lot of people out there that play regardless of whether it's the home team or not, and they're just changing their odds. But those odds matter, and that's why the sports books win. They win because you get those guys that don't care, and they just keep playing them and playing them and playing them. And they win enough of those games to keep playing them, but they don't really realize that over the course of a season, they lose a lot too. And they lose more so probably than they win, because the home team wins a lot of games in Major League Baseball opposed to the opponent or the away team. And rightfully so, that there's a big travel advantage for the home team. But that being said, that travel advantage doesn't always apply to runs scored. It just applies to games won. So it's kind of weird that you just have to realize that those run line odds are not in your favor, even though you're trying to cover them.
And as we're speaking here, as you see right in front of you, we get the update that Jose Ramirez is expected out for the Indians today, which adds a little fuel to our fire when we were talking about the Pirates today. But without further ado, my brother, let's see what we have on deck for. All right, Scotty, it's your stage. Let it rip, brother.
Well, I played 3 games today, and the first game that I played is just a pitching matchup that over the course of the last 30 days and over really the course of the season has been a mismatch. And I played the Mets, and I played them on the road. They're playing Washington today. My line that I played them at was at -105, so it was a pick'em number for the most part. But I played Taijuan Walker today against the Washington Nationals and Corbin. And I think a lot of times what people look into, and I look at it too, but I don't let it sway my opinion that much. Some of these pitchers don't do well against some of these opposing teams. And Taijuan Walker has not pitched well against the Nationals. But the number one batter that he's done the worst against is the catcher, Avila. I'm not worried about the catcher Avila beating me from the Nationals. The next guy that is the worst guy is Schwarber, and I'm not worried about Schwarber really beating me. These guys don't hit enough. So if it was Sosa or somebody like that, or if it was Turner or somebody like that, I might have more flavor towards saying, hey, this is he's going to get hit a little bit. But what I'm looking at here is that Taijuan Walker for the season has a game score 61, and we talk about game score a lot, and we rephrase it to make sure everybody understands what it means. Game score of a 50 is average. If you're 55 to 58, you're doing pretty good. You're one of the better pitchers in the league. And if you average a 60 or better, and I'll just tell you this, there is not one other pitcher today on the board of any pitcher that is over 60 on a game score. So that just kind of tells you what kind of season that Taijuan Walker's having. He is an ace kind of pitcher. His Sierra number is 3.06 and his xFIP is 3.23. And his whip rate is 1.04. It means he doesn't allow many guys to get on base. And then you start to flip it to the other side, and you look at Corbin. Corbin's game score for the season is a 43. So he's just been well below average, not just average, but well below. And he's off of a game where he threw his best game of the whole year. It's a game score 74. So that means that was an outlier. So I expect him to have a normal game today, which means he'll get beat up. So I like the Mets. I like the Mets a lot today. I played them in this game. One of the other key denominations that I use today is a number called win probability added, and these are over the last 30 days, and it kind of gives you an idea of what that pitcher contributed to the wins of the team. And for Walker, his number is 0.34. And for Corbin, it's minus 0.28. So what that means is that the contribution that Walker has made has been relatively average is 0. So if you're above average at 0.34, you're really good. And if you're at a 1 or higher, just over a 30-day time frame, that's the major big boost number. So you can see that he's been pretty good. He's been well above average, and Corbin has been well below average. And these are going to be consistent with all three of my plays today. But that one's the first one. I took the Mets. The next one I took is a first 5 game, and I took the run line. I took the Detroit Tigers and Casey Mize plus a half a run today. And we've talked about Casey Mize before and how good he's been pitching for the year. And yes, I know that they're playing the Anaheim Angels, and the Angels have one of the best offenses going right now. But the reason that I picked it is because – let me scroll my screen up here just a little bit. When you look at Casey Mize, his last 7 starts, he's got a 61.6 or 62 game score. For the season, it's a 56. And for Bundy can't do anything right. He's at a 4.96 Sierra number and a 5.41 xFIP number. That means he gives up a lot of home runs. His home run rate is 3.94. So he's giving up almost 4 home runs in per 9 innings. He's not striking anybody out. So that's 16% strikeout rate. His batting average against is 318, and his guys getting on base is 1.63 per inning. So in comparison to Mize, that's a 214 batting average that Mize gives up, and 0.9 guys get on base per inning. So that's really a dominant pitching performance matchup. What I didn't want to do, I wanted to shorten the game because there's a mismatch on offenses. The Angels offense currently, I think, is top 5, and Detroit's like right around 20 or something like that. So you got a bad pitcher going against a bad offense, and you got a good pitcher going against a good offense. I'll take the good pitcher. I took the half a run, and my line on that was -120. So I thought that was a pretty good number. Then my last play we talked about last week, Jeff, with the Cincinnati Reds and Castillo. And I took Castillo today and the full game today against the Padres. And the reason I did that was because Dinelson Lamet, he's one of my favorite pitchers. But Dinelson Lamet has not yet pitched 5 innings. He's building up his arm strength since he's been coming off the IL, the injured list. His performance has been very mediocre over that time. It's a 46 as his game score. He used to be a guy that had a strikeout rate was well in the 30s. It's only 25 now. He's getting hit at a rate that's 266 is his on-base average. I'm sorry. Batting average is 266. The on-base percentage is 341. So he's getting and allowing guys to get on base. Castillo, over his last 3 starts, we talked about it last week, that he has found something. He's been a 66 as his game score. Last week he was a 75 when we talked about how he had to face Milwaukee for the 2nd straight time, and then he dominated them again. And then you can see Milwaukee's gone on and had some pretty good success this week. So I like the idea that we're going to find that Lamet is going to struggle in his first 5 innings against the Reds. I think that Castillo is going to pitch well again today. He's showing his ground ball rate is way up. It's 53%. So I like that. I like the idea that they can hang out and capitalize on a San Diego Padre team that's sort of throwing a pitcher that is still trying to catch his sea legs, so to speak. So those were the 3 plays that I played today.
All right, so we're going to a quick little wrap up. We talked about the Mets minus the 105 with the edge with Taijuan Walker. Tigers plus a half run line. First 5, again, seeing a slight edge with Mize in that ball. First 5 versus Bundy. And then, as you said, we've talked about the last week to 10 days, is it does look like Castillo is moving in the right direction. You can grab them full game at plus 130 right now with Castillo over Lamet. And as I talked about earlier in the show, anyone watching or listening, take a look at the Pirates with Brubaker. If you're a first 5 guy, take a look at them. You can grab it minus 128. Right around there, first 5. If you looking for some positive or quote unquote EV or plus money, take a look at them at minus that half run in the first 5. Just remember, if it is a tie in the first 5 and you do go that route, that you will lose. So that's a lot of information, a lot to absorb for everyone. With that said, myself, Scotty, hope to be back tomorrow and Tuesday as we tackle another full week here with the Breakfast Bankroll at ECSI. Scotty, final bell, closing thoughts.
Well, I'm just hoping that today is a wonderful day for everyone, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And I just hope that whether you played any of the games we played or you play your own games, I hope they all come in today and you end your week. If you end your week on Sunday and you have a positive day today, because it'll just lead into a very good week for you starting on Monday.
Absolutely. Great food for thought. And here at ECSI, again, today is Sunday Fun Day. It always has been that. We don't dive into the public and quicksand Sunday. If you're down a handful of units, you wake up in the morning, you take a look at the board, you take your one swing, and Monday's a new week. It's a new beginning. It's not, I got to double down. I got to get even, or I even got to then profit. You will just never make it as a long-term sports wagerer investor in this. It's just day to day, unit to unit. It's a grind. And for us today here, we'll be putting together a little action parlay to try to keep we've hit 2 out of the last 4 for this month. So we'll look to get to that 3 out of 5 here as we move forward. So to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day again. to everyone out here listening, have a blessed and happy day. Remember always to stay positive. Keep smiling. It's free and untaxable. And we will catch you tomorrow, same time, same station. Thank you all.